My first impression was I was pleasantly surprised. Surprised when I knew I was coming, of course, Wikipedia, Booking.com, TripAdvisors, and you sort of see what's happening. Even Lonely Planets to see what's recommended. When I came here, I like the city centre. I think, especially once you see all the construction, but you can see the vision, so it's nice to see that. I think in terms of the variety of what's available in terms of the cookery or the culinary, the restaurants, I think it's very good. What really surprised me is the number of people that speak English, which I think is a great asset, because I think there are obviously, I think Macedonia or Skopje has potential for a lot of foreign visitors, so I think that's a plus. My last place, the English language certainly wasn't as prominent or as strong, and you do feel that it's especially if your clientele doesn't speak any English, then it makes it obviously a little bit more difficult. But I was pleasantly surprised. Having been here for a relatively long time, what I notice is that a lot of the food is very similar. The service standards tend to be very inconsistent, so you can have a good meal in one hotel or one restaurant. It can be served, it's hot, it's tasty. The next time you come there, the service is different, the meal is different, the food tastes different. So I think that's something. Even I've stayed at different hotels. I stayed different times in different hotels. Even when I stayed in the same hotel, the service standards, not only in the restaurant, but even what I experienced in the bedroom was different. The cleaning was different. In some areas they put the towel here, and some there, and some, there was an inconsistency. So I think this is something where there's a huge opportunity, and this is something which, for me, it's a great lesson to learn, because it means that when we open the Marriott Hotel, that one of the key areas to focus on is not necessarily the training, but the follow-up, to make sure that somebody is there to check that things are being done properly.
Well, your position is General Manager at the Merriot Hotel.
Yes.
We're wondering what Merriot Hotels will bring to the Macedonian market, and what will be the value that will introduce to the catering business.
I think.
Of course, I believe you have some plans, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a question that can be broken down in different elements. I think if we look at the hospitality industry, I think it will raise the standards of what people may associate with a stay in Skopje, in terms of what's available, the standards that are available. So hopefully they will have a different experience, meal experience, hotel experience when they stay with us. And hopefully they will say, wow, this is now available in Skopje. So I think from a customer perspective, there's something there. I think it also gives the opportunity that working with different universities, different institutes, that we can leverage each other's skills, that we can work together, we can help develop the culinary skills, the service skills, the hotel, the whole hospitality. So I'm looking forward to sharing how we do things, or how Marriott does things, and that people learn that, and that hopefully it will start to raise the service levels. That people will maybe understand that what they're doing now is maybe either it's acceptable but only just, or maybe you could do it better and it'll be a better service or a better experience ultimately for the customer. They're the people that pay our salaries. So, I think there's a lot of different opportunities, and I think when people see, and as I mentioned, Marriott has a lot of procedures, and a lot of these procedures, they're in place not because we want to be different. We look at it that the traveller is a global traveller. So when he goes to a Marriott in Amsterdam, when he goes to a Marriott in Moscow, and he comes here, he will have near enough the same experience. The same bed experience, the same toiletries, the same shampoos, the same greeting, the same checking in and checking out process. That's something that they like. That's something that they're comfortable with and they feel secure with. So our job is to make sure that consistency is delivered.
What is the situation like with Macedonia in relation to the trained personnel in the hotel business and in general?
I think
compared to your experience,
I think
the countries you've been working with.
I've worked in different environments. In terms of quantity, there's plenty of quantity. In terms of quality, this is where I think it becomes interesting, and this is where I think there's an issue. I've worked in an environment where literally I started from scratch and people had no experience. That was the environment that we were in, and we had to adapt our training to introduce it literally from scratch, from ground zero upwards. I worked in Russia in 1996, and when I came back in 2005, the level of skill was completely different, and it was refreshing. It was incredible. People that I'd got to know in 1996 that were still in the hotel that I was working at, they had all been promoted, they all had more responsibility, they had more skills. So it's something that it can be done. It's the willingness of the people to do it, but it's also the responsibility of the hotel and the management to make sure it gets done and to really to follow up. So I think there are a lot of people. My experience in the different restaurants I've been has been hit and miss. There's some restaurants that I think stand out more than others in terms of I have had consistently better experiences, and there's some restaurants that I wouldn't go back to, only because at the end of the day I was disappointed, and if I had to go there it's probably more because I get invited there, not because I want to. And I would say that I'm the average restaurant user, that if I have a good meal experience, and for example I have my chef coming, my regional chef coming soon, and he's asked me which hotels do you recommend, or which restaurants do you recommend. So I recommend the ones that either hearsay says they are the best in Skopje, so some of them I haven't tried, or ones that I have tried that I said, look, I had a good meal experience there, and then ask the question why. Because maybe the waiters are maybe they're slightly older, maybe this, and sometimes if you have consistency, if you have waiters that have been in a restaurant for 4 or 5 years, you know, customers like that as well, that they get recognized, that you're not always starting from zero. So I think that's something that's important. I think deep down, it's down to the hotel or down to the restaurant or down to any business to make sure that from day one that the staff are properly trained. And I think sometimes people take what I would consider the wrong attitude, the wrong approach, and I've experienced this in previous countries, where they say, well, it's pointless training them because they'll be gone in a week. And you know, if I'm, say, a waiter, and if I come to no skills, I come to a restaurant, and all I do all day is fold napkins, after the first week I'm going to be pretty demotivated. Whereas and then more than likely I would probably say, okay, well, this industry is not for me. So I've not seen a true reflection of the industry, and based on very limited experience, I've concluded it's not for me. If I have somebody that says, okay, here's your training plan. Today you're going to fold napkins. Tomorrow you're going to lay up tables. The next day you're going to serve teas and coffees. The day after that you're going to take orders. If there's a structured approach, then maybe that person may not leave after 1 month. They may leave after 6 months. They may leave after a year. And the difference is that somebody has actually shown an interest. And this is, I think, for me, is one of the things that I have to make sure that all my managers and supervisors understand that they do. Because if I am contributing, at the end of the day, ultimately will make my life easier, because I will have those people staying longer with me and they will be better qualified, rather than always getting so far and then starting from scratch again.
In your profession and frequent trips you had in a variety of countries, and you had the chance to try and to taste international cuisines. Compared to the menu and service that we have and the meals that are prepared, I would like to hear your opinion about the difference between the cuisine, the meals that are served in countries that you have visited. So
Okay. When I'm one of these travelers that when I go abroad, I always enjoy trying the local foods.
right.
So I don't go to England to have something that I could have in Holland. And then sometimes it amazes me that when you go on holiday, ultimately you always have an Irish pub or something like that, and you think, I think it's a shame to go to Egypt and to eat English food or whatever. So I always think it's important. One of the things which I enjoy in Skopje is trying the little canteens or whatever, the small restaurants, where. And sometimes in those restaurants, they're usually family businesses. Sometimes there the service is better than in some of the other restaurants because it's more on a one-on-one. I love it because these people, they have, maybe 10, 15 tables. They know the product. They have a limited menu, but yet what they do is very good. And sometimes less, it's quality versus quantity. And even I went to Desan on the other side. And it was recommended to me, and they said, but they only do kebabs. That's all they do. That's their speciality. And we went there, and fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Service was very, very fast. The environment was fantastic, and it's not always just about the food. It's about the environment as well. So very positive. And I've been back there, and I've been to a couple of areas in Italy, and I keep recommending to people, why don't we go there? Because it's great. It's local. It's something that you can associate with Skopje. So I enjoy trying local foods. I think some of the restaurants here, and sometimes it's a difficult balance because I think some of the restaurants, they try and have international cuisine, but does an Italian coming to Skopje want to eat pasta all the time? I don't know. I think maybe they would want to try something different. So I think there should be, say, more focus on local food. Maybe have, you can do things maybe with local food that in terms of what we just said, in terms of the presentation, that you package it differently, but the key elements are still there. How you present it, how you serve it, maybe is the difference between how other people do it, but the focus is really on that. What we want to do in the Merriot Hotel is that first of all, we want to treat the restaurant that we have more as a freestanding restaurant, as a family-style restaurant. So it has to be the focus is very much on the staff and the waiters. The customers realizing that it's like an freestanding individual restaurant, and they really feel that there's this personal connection between the staff and the customers, and that the food reflects that as well. That the way we present it is different, but that we try and take sort of local flavors and we give it a twist. But yet people go and they go, wow, it's served hot, it tastes great, and it looks fantastic. So these are the things for us is a key element of what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
Every country is different, though. Yeah.
And the next question is related to the SWOT research analysis for 2015, where the restaurants in Macedonia were noted certain stagnation, even a decline. What is your personal opinion, you as an expert, with this huge experience that you have in this field, where do you locate the problem concerning the stagnation and decline in figures, which are related to the quality, of course?
I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of factors that impact it. Geopolitical, there's a lot of factors that could impact it. I think if you walk around the square, there's a lot of people that enjoy eating out. So there is that demand. So I think, first of all, I think reputation. Are people buying cheaper ingredients? Is that something that people go, well, the steak used to be really nice, now it's a little bit tough. So are the establishments trying to save money here and there, and ultimately the customer's getting a lesser product? Is that stopping people from coming back or saying, okay, well, we're not going to go out? ultimately, the salaries may have an impact. Are the salaries not growing? Are they declining? Are we getting fewer visitors coming here? Are the visitors that are coming here, are they maybe tour operators? Are they choosing cheaper alternatives? There's a lot of factors that you have to take. When I came here in the summer, I was amazed at how busy all the terraces are. And it was just like every night they were full. So there's obviously that money there. Who is buying it? Again, are they hitting the target audience? If we think about it logically, people my age, there's fewer people my age than people your age, or the Gen Ys, the Gen Xs, and the Millennials. So, is the food that's available, is it still targeted towards my generation, or is it being adapted and being targeted towards a different generation? Again, we want to try and attract probably more the X and the Y generation because there's more people. So we have to create that whole atmosphere. Same with hotels. Marriott regularly has to reinvent itself because our customer base is changing. So 20 years ago, Wi-Fi, people didn't know what Wi-Fi was. Now it's a key element. We have different brands, and those different brands attract a different type of customer profile. So these are all things which I think are important. If people say, listen, we're earning less money, then instead of going maybe to restaurants on the square, maybe they're going to the faster food outlets further away. So there's a lot of factors that I think lead to it. I think you can reverse the trend, but I think the trend goes in terms of ambience. One of the things that I think people now are looking for is a whole experience. They don't come to a restaurant because the food is good and the service is bad. Yeah, the whole package. So they want to go there because it's got a great atmosphere, the service is great, the food is well presented, and it tastes good. I've had experiences in a lot of restaurants here that as I'm starting my starter, my first course, my main course is delivered. As a traveler, it winds me up. Okay, maybe salads are served with main course, but then the waiters can still ask, would you like to serve it together? Or would you like to have it separately? If I see a starter on a menu, to me it's a starter. The main course always comes after the starter, not simultaneously. And if I'm eating something cold and something hot comes, do I leave it and end up having a cold hot meal? So I think there's a little bit of coordination that is needed with the restaurant, with the kitchen, with the customers to say, do you want me to... I had the same experience in Russia, that when the check was there, the chef cooked it, as soon as it's done, you have to serve it. But that's not always the case. I had experiences in Russia where, you sit there and in front of you have your starter, main course and dessert all at the same time, and you think, wow, that's not what I expected. If you have ice cream, by the time you finish your main course, it's a slush puppy. So it's that coordination. So again, it's the standards, the expectations, ambience. There's so many factors that you have to look at. I don't think necessarily it's a quick fix. I think what would help is if you have to start with a foundation. Yeah, if you have a good foundation, and if you turn the say from the hotel and restaurant, if you turn it from a job into a career, I think that would make a huge difference.
Well, our next question is related to, you already mentioned that you've been in the region, and what's the situation like if we compare Macedonia and the countries in the region?
Well, I've been to... I'm relatively new to the Balkans. I've been to Bulgaria. Is probably, I would say, the most similar. Of course, I've been to Istanbul. I like the Turkish type of food, and I see certain influences here, so I like that element of it. Again, where I think there is I've been to... Well, I think I've been to Croatia as well, and I think it's important that people gear to a certain extent. I think it's important that the restaurants gear themselves up to the restaurant, to their clientele. But I think sometimes they overdo it and they focus too much on the fast food, the cheaper foods. And I think it's a shame because sooner or later you will lose your local cultures. So I would like to see more local cultures, more local foods, more ethnic foods on all menus, and that people are proud to serve. You know, that when people come, that the first thing that they could recommend is maybe a local ethnic signature dish. That people sort of say, well, this is from this region. You know, whenever I travel, one of the things I always enjoy doing is I enjoy drinking the local beers. I can get a Heineken anywhere in the world, but it doesn't interest me because the Heineken I have it's the same taste. I want to taste what beer. In my last hotel, the brewery in Russia, the brewery that was there was the first brewery in Russia. They had fantastic beers, and this is something that you really need to leverage. You need to create that awareness because that's something to be proud of. This is a brewery that's over 130 years old. That's something fantastic. You know, so you just sort of think, now these are the things that everybody in the locality should be proud of. And you know, I want people to be proud to be associated to work at the Marriott. Not necessarily because it's a Marriott, it's because it's a Marriott in Macedonia. And look what we've done. The hotel has been built with a lot of local craftsmen. Look what they've created. It's a beautiful building. It's a fantastic design. Now we have to deliver the service experience, but it's in a great environment. And so these things all have to link together.
Okay. Well, and our last question, is there a space or room for improvement in this business in catering industry in Macedonia? Are you optimist, having in mind the issues that you mentioned in the previous?
We have a saying within Marriott is that success is never final. So I don't think that in any country that they can say we're perfect, because again customer expectations change. So I think you have to reevaluate continuously. You can do a study, say this is what we're going to do, and then it continues the reevaluation. And as you start seeing say expectations or taste change, you have to adapt to it. So I think there is. I am a born optimist. So I think there's always the opportunity. Where you have to find is the will to change. And I think it's, as I say, if you start with a firm foundation and you have good controls and good supervision and good follow-up and training, I think that there is the opportunity to improve. Again, depending on the respective establishment, whether or not they want to take that approach, that's up to each individual. I think with Marriott, we have a lot of people with Marriott that have been with Marriott for many, many, many years. And I think that says something for the company that, you know, we have one saying that our founder started, that if you look after the staff, the associates, they will look after your customers keep coming back. Ultimately, we rely on the customers. That's our bread and butter. Those are the people that pay our salaries. So if we make sure that we give the training, the tools, the know-how, and the right direction, then they should be able to deliver the service that meets the customer needs. And we change all the time. Our brands change, so we have to change with it. And that's what I think is nice, because it keeps the brand alive. You know, if you look at a Marriott 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's a different experience. Why? Because the customer base has changed. So we have to change with it. So we have to continuously train. You know, we don't say, well, I trained you 10 years ago when you arrived. You have to keep reinforcing, you have to keep reminding. And I think this is one of the things that I sense. Either people do it and they say, you know, I don't know whether other places give people manuals, they read the manual, or whether people actually say, look, one-on-one, this is what we're going to teach you today. You sign off on it. And again, I think when people sign off on it, they take a little bit more ownership. They sign off on it, and then hopefully when they start doing it, there's somebody there to say, you know, our standard is that when you come to a table, you should introduce yourself. You didn't introduce yourself, please make sure you do it. Whereas I sense sometimes it's just like, well, I've been in a lot of places where you've had a cup of coffee and you've been there for 2 hours and you've only had that one cup of coffee. Why not go back? Is everything all right with your meal? Can I get you anything else? These are those little things which, and it's not exclusive to Macedonia. It's been in a lot of other countries. I've noticed the same. So I think as the tourism industry, the leisure industry starts to grow, these things will come. And as I say, Moscow in 1996 to 2005 was a completely different environment. So it can be done. It will take time, but it can be done.
Great. Thank you.
Pleasure.